All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are talking about the absolute foundation of Apache Spark, the concept that makes the whole thing tick: resilient distributed datasets, or as everyone calls them, RDDs.
So let's start with a problem that I'm sure many of you have hit before. You've got this massive data set. We're talking billions of rows, terabytes of data. There's no way it's going to fit on your laptop or even on one of those beefy servers. So what do? How can you possibly work with that?
Well, the answer comes from Apache Spark, and it's all built around this one core idea for handling exactly this problem: the resilient distributed dataset, the RDD.
Okay, so what is an RDD? What does resilient distributed dataset even mean? Let's break that down.
So on paper, here's the definition. An RDD is an immutable, distributed collection of objects. Now that sounds pretty academic, I know, but each of those words is actually really important, so let's unpack them one by one. Let's start with immutable. All that means is it's read-only. Once you make an RDD, you can't just go in and change it. You have to create a new one based on it. Then there's distributed, and this is the real magic. Your data is automatically split up and spread across a whole bunch of different computers. And finally, collection of objects. That's just a fancy way of saying it holds your stuff, your data, whether that's rows in a table or just a bunch of lines of text.
For anyone coming from a database background, this is probably the best way to think about it. An RDD is basically like a giant read-only database table. It's just so big that you have no choice but to chop it up and store the pieces across many different machines.
So that brings up a pretty obvious question, right? If the data is distributed, how does that actually work? How does Spark manage all those different pieces?
It's all done through a really powerful idea called partitions.
So Spark takes your whole dataset, your RDD, and it slices it into these smaller, more manageable chunks called partitions. And because each partition can live on a different computer, you can run calculations on all of them at the exact same time.
Just look at this example. Say you have a table with 3 million rows. Spark might break that into 3 partitions. It sends the first million rows to worker node 1, the second million to worker node 2, and the third million to worker node 3. Now, if you ask Spark to count all the rows, each worker just counts its own little chunk, all at the same time. They finish way faster and then just add the results together at the end. That's the power of parallelism right there.
Okay, so our data is now split up into these partitions across a cluster. The next big question is, how do we tell Spark what to do with it?
The way you actually write your logic is by using two very distinct types of operations.
And they are called transformations and actions. Honestly, understanding the difference between these two is probably the most critical part of understanding how Spark works.
So here's the crucial difference. A transformation, like filter or map, doesn't actually do anything when you call it. It just defines a new RDD based on the previous one. It's like you're writing a SQL query. You're just describing the result you want. An action, on the other hand, something like count or say this text file, that's what tells Spark, okay, time to go. It's the equivalent of hitting the execute button on your query. The action is the trigger that makes everything happen.
This whole idea of defining the work first and then executing it later leads us to one of Spark's most powerful and kind of funny features. It's laziness.
And I'm not making that up, it's a key idea. Spark doesn't do any work until it absolutely has to. It waits and waits until you finally call an action. This is called lazy evaluation. So why is being lazy a good thing? Well, because it means Spark can see the entire chain of transformations you want to do before it even starts. It doesn't just run step 1, then step 2, then step 3. It looks at the whole plan you've built and figures out the most efficient way to get to the final answer, often by combining steps to avoid extra work. Let's just walk through a quick example. First, you tell Spark to load a text file. It doesn't load it, it just makes a note. Then you tell it to filter that file for lines that contain the word error. Again, it doesn't do it. It just adds that step to its plan. Then you add a map transformation. Same deal. Spark hasn't touched a single byte of data yet. It just built up this recipe, this blueprint of what you want. Only when you call an action, like .count, does Spark look at the full recipe, optimize it, and then send all the work out to the cluster. It's just incredibly efficient.
Okay, I know that was a bit of a whirlwind tour through a pretty massive concept. So let's just take a second and consolidate the most important things you need to remember.
So if you remember anything, remember these 5 things. First, an RDD is your giant read-only distributed dataset. It's broken into partitions so you can do work in parallel. You tell it what to do with lazy transformations, and you kick everything off with an action. And the whole thing is made super efficient by lazy evaluation, which lets Spark optimize your entire job before it runs a thing.
Now that you have this fundamental understanding of how Spark thinks about data, it really opens up a whole new world of possibilities for large-scale analysis. So what's the first big problem you'd want to go solve with this kind of power?
And that's all for this explainer on RDDs. Hey, if this helped you connect the dots, please go ahead and hit that like button, share it with a colleague, and subscribe for more deep dives just like this one. Thanks for watching.